Welcome to the channel. Welcome to the channel. Oh, the Illuminati. Hi guys, welcome back to another installment of Illuminati, and today we're going to talk about the new Disney Plus series by Marvel. What am I talking about? I am talking about Loki. So this show starts off, it's pretty much Avengers 2 / Endgame, because this deals back with them going back in time to get the Infinity Stone. So in this part of the series, we see it start off in New York City, in Avengers 2 / Endgame. We're just gonna say that because it ties into Endgame, so if you get what I'm saying. But it starts off with Loki pretty much being, cuffed by his brother Thor. And literally pretty much Loki gets on the elevator with the Avengers. And when he's off the elevator, we see the Hulk kind of furious because it looked like he wanted to beat the mess out of Loki. He wanted to beat him to a pulp, right? Literally, we see Loki get his hands on the Tesseract, and eventually he ends up getting the Tesseract and being in the Gobi Desert in China and starting his new kingdom. Loki like, look, I couldn't get Asgard. I'm going to start my new kingdom with some new people, right? But before that happens is the Time Variant Authority, which I'm going to call them the Time Cops, kind of, in a way. They are Time Cops. Comes into the picture, and they apprehend Loki for his crimes. And I think that was really interesting. We see Loki kind of like, thinking like, hey, he about to start his kingdom. That was like kind of your thoughts. But then you're like, they had to put a stop to it. So they put a stop to it. Loki is apprehended. They throw a collar on him, a time collar, I'm calling it. And they end up taking him to the Time Variant Authority headquarters. So then when Loki is there, Loki is pretty much, a criminal. He is being labeled a criminal. But we learn about why Loki is a criminal in the Time Variant Authority. Loki is pretty much just not staying consistent with the timeline, with too many multiverses and with the same outcomes, literally. This is what I like about this show. Time travel is a little different. If there's the same results are happening in too many of the timelines, it can cause a problem with other timelines, meaning there will be other wars and all this stuff. Very interesting that they threw that in there. But we also know is if you do not get your trial for the crimes that you committed in the Time Variant Authority, they can kill you. Literally. There was a prisoner before Loki in the, before him that did not want to get a ticket to get trial for the crimes he committed. The Time Variant Authority cop was like, oh, you know what? You don't want to do it? Fine. They zapped him, and we saw him turn into dust. I was like, oh, I was like, this place is no joke. And you can see Loki had like a change of heart. Oh, let me go get my ticket. Like, yeah, you might want to get your ticket before you be like that next person, bruh. Okay? You don't want them problems. And we see that Loki is tried to a court trial. And we see Loki's like, he blaming it on the Avengers. Like, oh, you talking about me? I ain't did nothing. It was the Avengers. I'm like, bruh, no, don't blame the Avengers. I thought that was funny that he literally blamed the Avengers. I'm like, really? The Avengers? Out of all people, you're like, oh, I'm blaming the Avengers. Yeah. But we see that he blamed the Avengers. He did not stand up for himself, for the crimes he committed. But then Loki is reintroduced to this scenario, but with not a judge, but with a detective. So now we see Loki has been tried. But before then, they're going to do something else with Loki. So then we have this detective played by Owen Wilson. That's pretty much I'm just going to call him a time detective right now, because I think that's what he is. But it's a time detective that pretty much stops things from happening. Like, by the way, I forgot to mention is when he was at the Gobi Desert, the Time Cops, Time Variant Authority pretty much wiped out that time. They don't remember who Loki is, any of that stuff. So they come and clean up the crime. If you're, you know what I'm saying, before it gets out of hand. I like that approach. You know what I'm saying? They come, get the person, make sure that nothing happens to the people that saw that person in that particular event. But on Wilson's characters pretty much trying to tell Loki, like, hey, look, you caused many deaths. Like, along your way, it's nothing but death. And we see that Loki doesn't see that. He's like in denial about it. He's got like this narcissist attitude about it, like, and we can see that he's like full of it. But before we see that, we also learn that Loki's fate. Loki finds out what is going to happen in the future that has not happened yet. Meaning that in this episode, he sees Odin gone, his mother killed, and also his own demise, meaning that he's going to get killed by Thanos regardless. So in the timeline now, he's pretty much non-existent. He doesn't exist. And we also see in this episode the time cops kind of chasing Loki in the time variant authority headquarters. I think it was really cool to see that. But Loki doesn't realize, even though the Tesseract is there, because he went to go get the Tesseract, because they actually grabbed the Tesseract when they took him. And he figures out with the time collar on, that's a constant time loop. He cannot use his powers like he wants to, which I thought was really cool. But I love like how he actually like captured the lady and put the time thing on her, and she just like he pressing the button, she just popping up everywhere. I thought that was really cool. And I was just like, yo, Loki is a clown, yo. I was like, this fool, like, all right, you gonna do me that way? I got you. I'm gonna start. So meaning that in that pretty much the time variant authority, the headquarters is just a constant time loop. I'm assuming that's why it's the way it was. But also in this episode, we find out something that's kind of mind-boggling. I know a lot of people thought it was Mephisto, one of the other Marvel characters, but no, it is not. Literally the villain for this series, which I think this is definitely interesting, because I was shocked too when I found out. I'm like, wait a minute. What a minute. Like, I was like, come on, no. But Loki is the villain for the show. Another version of Loki, not the current version that was in prison. So Loki, I guess they're going to try to stop him from doing certain things in his past, which I think with this show could really work. I like how the time variant authority looked. It looks so futuristic, flying cars and everything. I'm giving this show, episode 1, a solid 5. You heard it from me, a solid 5. The reason for that is the show's approach is really different. It's Loki chasing Loki. I like that. It's a little different. The time travel thing is really cool. The story, Loki kind of learning that he's the reason that he's there. I like the chemistry amongst the characters in the show. I think that's really working for the show. And I think personally, it's a risk. It's definitely a risk, because I was thinking like they were gonna give him a different type of villain. But I was like, you know what? I'm like, all right, let me not have like super big expectations. Like, yeah, the show should have this. The show should have that. It's like, you know what? I think it could work. It's just, you got to figure out how to make it clever. I like Tom Hiddleston playing Loki, honestly. Owen Wilson did a great job. I think the chemistry between those two really meshed well with one another. We learned the history of the time variant authority, which I think really works for the show. And I just think this show has some potential, you know what I'm saying? And it ties into the Marvelverse, which really works. So, like I said, have you seen the first episode of Loki? If not, you tell me in the comments, guys. Your boy Ill Blurmatic in the building. Have a great day, and I am out.